Hello and welcome back. It's Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be making these fun cards using a technique that I kind of discovered was a great way to do some creative block and paper stash busting, and I'll actually show you that more of that technique in an upcoming video, so stay tuned. But I thought I'd use it as well for these cards for a creative block I had for my scrap and stamp blog post. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I pulled out a bunch of craft supplies here, some ribbon, the stamp set from my favorite things called Cat-astrophe, a whole bunch of coordinating papers that I wanted to use, and I'm going to be using the slimline design. I'm going to start out with the panel and just some white glue. You can use Gina K Connect, you can use Elmer's glue. I think I'm actually just using Elmer's glue for this. And what I did is I just took the papers that I wanted to use and I just ripped them up in no particular fashion, just odd shapes, and I just started gluing them down, and it really brought out the inner kindergartner in me, I will say. I didn't overthink anything. I just really started ripping and gluing it down. Now, I do apologize. I am off screen a little bit and my camera was a bit shaky, but it does get better, so stick with me. All right, so as you can see, again, I'm really just ripping the papers, applying the glue, and just sticking them down. Don't overthink it. Just go ahead and lay them down and glue them down. And this is a really great way to get over the creative block that we have for what to do for patterns, for backgrounds, and how to use some of our products. Especially, I know we all have a ton of those beautiful pattern papers that we love. And I know it seems a little scary to rip them up in this fashion and, you know, not kind of cut them with a decorative die or something. But trust me, this looks beautiful in the end. So as you can see here, I'm just using a brush, a glue brush, gluing them down, and then once I get it all glued down, I'm going to do a thin layer of glue over top. By adding a thin layer of glue over top, that really helps to ensure that all edges of the project are glued down and secured down, as well as it gives it a nice sheen to the end product. It's you know, pretty much decoupaging, if you remember that from, I want to say back in the late 80s, early 90s. Now I'm dating myself, but yeah, it's just kind of a decoupage technique, and I'll set that aside to dry. And then I'm going to bring in another panel and just really do the same thing. I'm going to add the papers, gluing them down. And so I'm just going to let you watch this process with a little bit of music. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. panels have dried, and I even did a little bit of decorative stitched edging there with my sewing machine. I was so proud of myself, but I really think that adds a beautiful detail to it. And now I can bring in my little stamped images from the My Favorite Things Cat-astrophe stamp set. I colored them while the project was drying. I did that off screen, and it was just really therapeutic. The whole process was therapeutic. We all have large amounts of pattern paper in our stash that we need to use up, and even though it seems counterintuitive just to rip them up in pieces, it really made good use of them and combined these pattern papers together in such a unique and I think a beautiful way. And then again, adding that little stitched embellishment around the edge just kind of finished it off. So it was a kind of like a very eclectic look to me, or for me anyways. So as you can see here, I'm just really playing around with the layout of my little cat images, and I'll just simply adhere them down onto this card panel. Now you can see that I did switch out on the background. I brought in my Tim Holtz craft mat, my brown craft mat. I highly recommend using some sort of craft mat or surface like the Tim Holtz glass mat to do your gluing on, and that is simply just to help out with the amount of glue that you kind of get all over the place. I just found it easier for the cleanup process. I had the glue all over my glass mat, and then I just brought in this Tim Holtz brown craft mat and laid it over top so that I didn't get anything sticky or dirty. I'm using just some Hero Arts precision glue to glue these little elements down onto these stitched squares. You can use any small dies, shape dies that you have in your stash. Some stars would be cute. I also use circles for my other cards, so yeah, just something really fun. And then once I get them glued down onto the little squares that they're on, I can adhere them to the card panel. Now I'll also mention that I am giving away the My Favorite Things Cat-astrophe stamp set. I have an extra one, and I thought it would be really fun to do a giveaway. So all you have to do to have your chance to win this stamp set is simply like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment down below. And then on January 31st, I will reply to your comment letting you know whether or not you've won, and then I'll give you my email address so that you can contact me. I also have had some people ask me how they can support my channel, which is really, really sweet. I do appreciate that so much, as it's the best way that you can help support me is honestly by liking, subscribing, leaving comments. If you like, go ahead and share these videos with your friends. Another great way to help is I do have the links to those supplies that I'm using down below, and if you use those links, there's no extra cost for you. I just simply get a little affiliate commission for you using that link, so again, no extra cost to you. And there is also a new thing down below. It's called my tip jar, and simply, if you really liked today's video and you want to see more and help support my channel, just leave me a little tip, and you can do that through PayPal. There's no set amount, it's just whatever you feel like donating, and it's really appreciated. And thank you so much to the people who asked me how they can support me. I do, again, really, really appreciate all of you so much. Alright, so I'm coming to the end of this card. I am now adhering the card panel onto the base, and because there is a little bit of warping that happens during the drying process of this, I'm going to pull out my score tape. It is a very, very strong adhesive, and it will help flatten the panel just a little bit. But I did want to do one thing before I adhered this down and got carried away. I do want to do my sentiment, and sometimes I really forget to stamp down my sentiment before I finish decorating my card base. I get so excited to get the card kind of together that I forget to stamp on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my Stamp Perfect here and get that sentiment stamped on the inside. I did again play around with the idea of having a sentiment stamped on the outside, like maybe on a little banner or something, but I couldn't do it. I really like the outside of it, and I thought I will just leave it the way it is and have my sentiment on the inside. So I'm going to pull out my sentiment for this one. Again, if you really like the stamp set, remember that chance to win your own personal set by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And my favorite ink to use for sentiments is the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I've used a lot of black stamp or ink stamps in the past, and this by far is the best for sentiments. I get a clear and perfect stamped image. I want to say like 99.9% of the time. There is the odd time that it doesn't stamp and I have to give it a second, but I really think that's more user error than it is the ink itself. So if you're looking for a really beautiful vibrant black and a good black ink stamp, this Versa Clair Nocturne ink is the one that I highly recommend. Again, I really like the sentiment I used. It is the "Life is messy, friends help." I think that is so true. I have one really good friend that I've known for, oh my goodness, at least 20 some years. And I met her through work, and then we ended up being roommates. And she moved away. She moved away to Scotland, and I hadn't seen her or spoke to her in like almost, gosh, I want to say a good 15 years. We lost contact, and then we found each other again through the miracle of Facebook. And she is just one of those people who come into your life, and it doesn't matter how much time goes by. You just pick up right where you left off. It's like you never missed a beat. And she, she's been there through reasons of messy times in my life, and same for her. And we bring out the best in each other, and we're both creative. And she really helped shape me, because I met her when I was younger. She really shaped a big part of my life, and I have to thank her for that. I have to thank her for being such a huge inspiration, especially in my creativeness. So yeah, thank you, Ro. I love you. Okay, so let's get back to this card. I am now going ahead and pulling off that release paper from the score tape, and I will just adhere it down onto my card base. Slimline cards have really kind of taken off in the last little while here, and I really am enjoying using this different style. I've been stuck in the A2 card size rut for a bit, I feel like, and this is just a fun way to, I think, experiment. And I like the size of them being that you can really expand. If you're doing scene cards, you can really expand your scene just that much more. So I'll go ahead and make sure I adhere it down onto my card base the right way. And then what I can do is bring in those little colored elements, the little kitty cat characters that I colored up. And my big old head is in the way I can. I'm sorry guys, I just really wanted to make sure that I was lining it up properly. And you better check on your friends who have pixie haircuts, because we are not doing okay in this whole lockdown, not being able to get haircuts. So I do apologize for the state of my hair as well. There's just nothing I can do about it short of having to pull out a wig that I had to wear a number of years ago. I'm hoping to avoid that. So alright, back to the card again. We are pulling out some of my ribbons that I know we all have in our stash. We have different sort of findings and little embellishments that we've either found at craft stores or the dollar store, or someone's probably given us, or that we've taken off a package and thought, oh, this would be great to use on a project. This is the time to go ahead and pull those out, because we're going to be bringing them into this card. And again, this style is very eclectic. It uses a bit of everything, and especially with the stitching around it, it gives me kind of a feeling of how people do junk journals. They just kind of add a whole bunch of things, and then in the end they're left with this like beautiful masterpiece. And I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, to tell you the truth, but after going through this process and just trusting it, I really enjoy how it turned out. I think it's very whimsical and fun, and like I said before, eclectic. So just adhering down this little pom-pom ribbon, which again I fell in love with at the store but have not had a chance to use, and now I'm pulling it out, and I think it works perfectly because it just makes me think of the little cat toys that my kitty cats have, and that they like to play around with. And my cats are getting older, but it seems like the one who wasn't a very nice cat, not shouldn't say not nice, just wasn't the friendliest towards people in the beginning. Now in his older years, his golden years, he's become a lot more friendly, and he has taken to bringing us gifts. So he will howl and howl and howl in the middle of the night when he has one of my son's stuffed animals. And my son has a ton of stuffed animals in his bedroom. So in the middle of the night, my cat feels the need to bring us his quote-unquote kill. And he brings all these little stuffed animals into our room in the middle of the night. So they migrate from my son's room to our bedroom. And this just kind of, reminds me of the little trinkets that he brings us. It's so funny. I think our pets are, again, another great therapeutic thing to have in our lives right now, especially during a lockdown. And I know a lot of people have gone ahead and gotten themselves pets during all of this, and I think that's something that's really saved our sanity. And it's a great time, I think, to get a pet too. We're spending more time at home, and you can give them that kind of attention they need in the beginning to build that relationship and get your routines kind of worked out and training done. So just adding a little bit of liquid adhesive to the back of the foam tape here just gives it a little bit extra adhesion, because the surface of that paper is a little slick with the glue layer that we put over on top to give it that gloss, that decoupage kind of look. So this is just an extra step that I like to take to make sure that my little elements aren't going to come off. So if you are not playing along with us over at the Scrap and Stamp Facebook challenge page, our challenge word for today is pets. So go ahead and pull out your little stamp sets with pets on it that might depict your pet, and show us what your creations are. Head on over. I'll have the links down below and over at the Scrap and Stamp blog, where you can play along with us and a chance to win a prize. I think this is really fun and a great way to showcase my papers. So here's the second card that I created with the circle dies, just adding some ribbon underneath the little popped up images, and again some more stitching. And then here is the first card we created together. I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I wish you a great weekend. As always, you can find the materials used in today's video down below in the description and over at my blog. Any purchases made through these links helps me to bring you future content and tutorials at no extra cost to you. Another way you can show your support is simply by liking, sharing, and subscribing so as not to miss any future posts. Thanks again. Until next time, P.S. I love you.